own opinions of what you should expect, and that's what he's going to talk about today. In fact, he's talking about human evolution and development up to this point and what's in store for you. So he's playing with some things that he calls road signs that are along the way that should be visible now. So let me bring Alexander in, and I'll let him do the, the presentation. Greetings. We are Alexander, and we are delighted to be here. It is a little different venue than what we are used to. So it's brand new, and hopefully you have an open mind, because I think we're going to challenge you just a little bit today with the things that we're going to say and present to you. We want to present to you certain things that are happening along the wayside right now that should indicate to you that certain things are happening. And in fact, we're proposing that this is perhaps one of the most important times in the evolution of humankind that has ever been yet. There's been other attempts, and we're not trying to belittle those that you call Jesus or any of the other ones. We're simply saying that that did not exactly move all of humanity to the point to where you are now. So you're at a place and time like never before. You're called on to have a new understanding of who and what God is. Now, we realize that this is going to be a little bit disturbing to someone, so we're not presenting this as fact to you. We're saying, what if? What if this is the magic that James sang about? What if allows you to create like never before? It allows you to imagine without being committed to it. So when you are having difficulty with a new ideal or something, simply say, what if? What if this is so, or what if it isn't so? But it allows you a bit of freedom that perhaps you can't get otherwise because of your upbringing, because of the things that you were dedicated to doing in this lifetime. Now, one of the suppositions that we have always proposed is that you have lived before. This is just another repeat of life experiences that you have decided to do. And it is not a good or bad thing, it's simply an is. What if? What if you've been here thousands of lifetimes and everything that you have felt, done, and experienced before is still with you? What if when you pass away from this lifetime or any other lifetime, you don't forget who and what you are? There's a saying that you can't take it with you. But we have to tell you, you can't leave this part behind. What you have done and what you have been is an evolution of who and what you are. And you have reached a point right now, like never before. You have a challenge. And that challenge is to, we want to say, get away from believing that you are a sinner, that you're unworthy, or that you're ungodly. It's to declare that you are God's each. God's in manifestation, God's in the physical. And that's where and what you are experiencing in this lifetime. Never before have you been presented with that possibility without being considered to be a heretic, I think that's the word, or being condemned, or being done away with. If you were in the arena of the Crusades, you had to be very careful about what you said. And some of you have experienced that, and we have to tell you. So what we want to start off with is this presentation of signposts along the way, things that are happening, and make you realize that you indeed are creators, that you have choices. Everything is not decided. If you're looking for the future to be a certain way, if you believe that 2012 is the destruction of humanity, the destruction of the world, then we propose to you that you have not considered how powerful you are. 2012 is a chance to claim and to be the creators that you are, to claim your birthright. Now, signposts along the way. These are the things that are happening. These are the things that perhaps you would like to have changed, or perhaps you don't. But either way, these things are happening. Bank failures. Now, do you see them as being a failure, or can you see those as being possibly corrected? Your government. Failure are correctable. Your military. The idea that you are the policeman of the world and that you have to be involved with every, we would say, confrontation. Do you see that as necessary? Do you see that as a failure, or do you see that as correctable? Now, the reason we're using the word correctable is because that is a power that you have to correct anything that you see is not as you think it should be, for the highest and the best, for everyone. Those are signposts along the way. You have your schools. Is that what you wish to have? Most people have a pet peeve, do you not? This is what's wrong with the world. Right now, it's the gas companies with their dollar markup. Perhaps the greed. Do you see that as a failure of society? Do you see that as greed, or do you see that as correctable? Do you see that as possibly something that's going to be corrected by solar energy, by electrical powered automobiles? You see, everyone has something. Those are signposts along the way. And never before have you been presented with such as that. You have your internet, your cell phones. Is that what you think it should be? Everyone has something that's wrong with the internet, do you not? Is it correctable, or is it a failure? Is it something that is always going to be a problem? Those are the signposts along the way that are happening now. And those are the things that are changeable by what you believe. So what we wish to do is go back and give you a little bit of history. And again, we're going to play with what if. What if in your creation, when you first had consciousness as a human being or a human species or subspecies, what if you existed in the time of dinosaurs? Now we realize that your history book says that's not possible. We propose to you it's not only possible, it is. What if you were like a little mouse that had to run and hide in a cave every time something frightened you? What if one of your first awarenesses was one of fear? And what if that fear was what allowed you to evolve? What if that fear allowed you to conceive intelligence enough to where you could take care of yourself, that you gathered together in groups? What if that fear allowed you to store food in caves so that you could maintain yourself regardless of what was happening outside? Now, next step in evolution, and this is where we recognize that you may have a little difficulty. What if this earth plane has been populated, supervised, and directed by some outside source that perhaps you call spaceships or aliens? What if indeed that you're all part alien? What if this is not your original place of existence and you have simply arrived here to play upon this plane? What if? That gives you a bit of allowance, does it not? Now, what if there was such intelligence that could manipulate genes, your DNA, and help you to evolve to become more of the beings that you are now, the physical beings? And what if there's something else happening? What if you are such aware consciousness that you exist eternally, lifetime after lifetime? And yet you still use these human vehicles for the most part to have those experiences. Now, we're proposing to you that perhaps that was the original Adam and Eve story, not in one place, but several places. We propose to you that it is perhaps the beginning of your religions. Perhaps it is the first awareness of what is called angelic beings, people that come around and do, we would say, rewarding things for yourself, protect you, this type of thing. Now, I realize that your mind is saying, the Bible doesn't say that. But what if there was more than one version? What if you could allow that perhaps there is something else happening? What if everything made a bit of logical sense, and perhaps most of what you have been fed is through the Bible is perhaps a little bit mixed with superstition? That bothers you when we say that, does it not? But does it not bother you the first time that you have thought about saying, I am God, I am a creator, I am the ruler of my world, my reality, my life? That is where you're at now. You have to decide, or not. You see, that is your potential to grow and to evolve. Now, a little bit of history. You have been in Atlantis, you have been in Egypt, you have been in Persia, you have been in Greece, you have been in Rome, you have been in England, you have been in the United States. Some of you have been in Asia, some of you have been in Mongolia, some of you have been in Japan. All of that is evolving. But notice one thing then in particular. All of those countries we have spoken of have attempted to control their world, to be the policeman. And notice all the failures, one after the other. Nothing has survived. So here you are once again. And if you do not identify your United States with trying to control the way the world is, to control what you think, what you do, this is the land of freedom and liberty, right? Notice how perception makes a difference. What you believe becomes your reality. But if you are on the other side of an issue, then you're not quite so certain that the United States and other countries such as that are benevolent and kind. And perhaps your only alternative is to protest, to cause wars and battles. Then you're called terrorist. Now, we're not saying it is right or wrong, we're simply saying that is. But what we want to propose to you is, in your evolution, fear has allowed you to survive. You survived the dinosaur era, which most of the dinosaurs have been reportedly passed away from an asteroid collision with the Earth. But you were smart enough to have stored food in caves, so you have survived. You have learned how to manipulate nature to a certain extent. You have learned how to keep warm. So you have survived those arenas. So how does it feel to be a survivor, to be intelligent? But the one thing that you have not rid yourself of is this idea of fear. That is what controls you in a sense. That is what makes you think you have to be in control of your world, that you cannot allow it simply to be, because there is danger. You may not survive. You may wind up being a slave again. So this particular bit of energy has played itself back and forth thousands and thousands of years, thousands and thousands of times. And here you are at a point where you make a decision. What do you want to be? Do you want to be creators, or do you want to be halted in your evolution by beliefs that you are less than gods, less than creators? 2012 is a happening. It is not just this particular year we propose to you. It is a 100-year period of evolution, starting in the 1950s up through your 2050s. So you're not going to wake up December the 22nd and find the world changed drastically. We propose to you that it's going to go on somewhat like it is. But notice the signposts we've spoken of. This is where your power comes in. Do you believe that you can correct your society? Do you believe that you can see your banks changed, not correctable? If you are trying to correct, it means you're going against. Those thoughts create a confrontation, and we tell you that when you do that, you're simply empowering the other side. They'll put all their abilities and efforts into surviving. And if you're doing the same thing on this side, or at least in opposition of that, you're doing the same thing. But what if, in your beliefs, in your reality, and in your perspective, you can say, I see these changed, without ever lifting a finger? What if there was enough of you that had this idea, this insight, and held it as the highest and best for not only you, for everyone, that it became a reality? What if that thought, that energy, influenced the whole of the world? That is what we're speaking of. Your ability to change, not by confrontation, but simply by saying, I see this. I see banks as being lovable, kind, generous, honorable, truthful. What if you could say the same thing about your military? I see the military as, rather than being policemen, simply as being a possible protection against any outside forces. Not necessary to go over and play with your latest equipment and latest toys to destroy someone or to do in other countries. What if you could simply sit back and observe the world? What if you could see the world as being as it should be? Because we tell you, it is as it should be. There is a bit of evolution going on. And if you propose to restrict it just to your idea, no one else is going to go along with you if they don't agree with you. You see, in that there's an empowerment. There's a decision that you make. What if you saw changes in your gas companies? What if you saw them being more, we would say, just in the charges that they place upon their pumps? What if you saw it being okay? Difficult? You see, it's all a perception. What is happening in your world? What do you perceive is necessary to say that I am a creator, that I am God? Now we realize that most of you here are into metaphysics, and you have at least heard this phrase of saying I am God, and perhaps the first time it is a little bit shocking. Second time you're still alive. Third time you kind of get used to the idea. But there's more than saying I am God. Recognize that you are the creator of your world, of your reality, of every moment that you exist. You are the one that is creating that. Everything that happens is created by your memory, by your perspective, by your desires, and has been by your fears also. The fear is the one thing that you have to overcome. That is when you say, I am God, and when you really realize that indeed you are the creator. We have to tell you, this whole world is about you, no one else. Each individual creates their own little world or big world. You create exactly what you expect, what you want, what you desire, and so far what you have feared. Fear has served its purpose. You do not recognize that most religions talk about fearing God? Yet God walks beside you all the time. And that energy is you. There's no difference. But until you declare that I am God, that I am the one that's in charge, that I create in every moment, that I am empowered to do that, then you have not taken the next step. 2012 is about saying, believing, and doing godly things. You are that. There is no other being, God or the devil, that has power over you. You are that. There's no one that says, you have to be this way, you have to think that way, that has the ability to make you do it. Although it has been tried time and time again and has failed repeatedly. You are the only one. So you have arrived here in this space, in this time, not by accident. You are here not by accident. You are here on purpose. And we're proposing to you that this is a time of deciding, of decision making. And we realize that, once again, this is not the only voice. There are still those that put God outside yourself and says, do what God asks. We say the same thing. Do what God asks, but recognize where God is. Recognize who God is. Recognize that you are the supreme being. You are God in manifestation. You are God's in the flesh. You are intelligent. You are conscious. You are eternal. And that part of you extends forever. You are the result of DNA and gene manipulation, and realize that you have had your chance to express yourself when that has been brought up on the table. But notice how close you are to the intelligence that helped you evolve. If you had spaceships and alien beings show up now, you would not perceive those as being necessarily godly or angelic beings, would you? You would have a little bit more intelligence, recognize that perhaps there's a little bit more sound scientific information. I think this one says something about it's magic if you don't understand. It's magic if you say, what if? What if you allowed your mind to wonder? What if you allowed yourself to perceive that maybe that's a possibility? Maybe every lifetime up to this point has brought you to this time of decision. So what happens with your world after this evolution? Can you correct it? Can you see a perfect vision? Can you see everyone and everything recognize that they're all part of this one great whole? This mass consciousness, or this mass collection that perhaps could be received as God in His wholeness, in His fullness. And each one of you are a part of that. It is becoming one. So now, like never before, it's your time of decision. Now, if you make the wrong decision, it doesn't mean that you cease to exist. It means you have a little more time to think about it, perhaps. There is no wrong decision. You simply create the world around you. We do not wish to take your creative abilities away from you. We wish you to be able to create the things that you desire. We wish you to be able to create without fear of consequences, fear of failure, fear of retaliation by some other entity or some spiritual awareness. You are that. You have heard that saying, I am that I am. You see, the information's been around a long time, but it has rarely been understood. In Jesus' times, there was an awareness that you were gods, you were creators each. But somewhere along the line, somebody decided to take control and to make you subservient to those ideas. So now we have a room full of gods and godlets. And is it not most delightful and perhaps a little scary to think that every moment that you create and it's all around you? And notice, it is all by your perspective, by what you believe it to be. In each moment, you are a creator. Your only choice is to recognize it or not. Every one of you are individual and unique. So the things that you think, this thing that you do, the world around you, your reality, is unique to you. And that is a good thing, because we do not need cookie cutters. We need individuals. We need a little bit of difference. So we look out at humanity, and you all have a bit of uniqueness to you, and yet you are all somewhat the same. You are all of this one consciousness that has been called God, that has been taken away from you at times, that has made you subservient, and all of a sudden, we're here telling you that it has been you all along. Look back in your life in this time, look back in your past lives, and notice the things that you have agreed to do and to be and to perceive that have been regulated by governments, your schooling, your parental advice, and it is all proper because you have agreed to play that game. But now there's a new stage and a new game, new possibilities. So how will you be in this moment, in the next moment? Do you feel comfortable? It does not mean that you have to go out and stand on the street corner and declare everybody that you are God and have a light shining on your head or anything like that. You don't have to go through some sort of spiritual awakening. You are awake already. And it is within you. Feel it here and be that. And you have arrived. You do not have to believe the things we say. But what if that little seed has been sown and you are the recipient of that? How will you be tomorrow? Can you be the most important creator that you have ever known? And feel comfortable with that? Or is there still fear that I'm not allowed to do or to be this? Do you still feel restrictions? What if you had to get up and do a song and a dance? Maybe in a few soft shoe bit of routine. Would you feel comfortable in that? Most likely not, but what if you were the only one watching? What if you were in front of the mirror? That is how you exist. It's all about you. Anyone else's opinions mean little. You are the one that decides who and what you are, whether or not you're comfortable. So that's what we're trying to do, is to empower you. To have you perceive exactly the powerful beings that you are, this consciousness that has existed throughout time, from the time of being in a cave. Now, one last thought. If you have not experienced a dinosaur in reality in a past life, then we would invite you to experience one of the replicas nowadays and see what happens here. You think you are not a fearful being. That's not a memory that you have taken forth. It's not logical if you only lived in this one lifetime, because after all, those are simply replicas. They're not real, they're not live. But allow yourself to have that experience, and we will assure you it will touch something deep inside you. So, we wish you great creations, great awareness. We are Alexander. Thank you all.